वो तो कनेक्टेड है सर समझ
नीरज कितने पार्टिसिपेंट्स आ रहे हैं? नीरज
7
जेआरएफ वगैरह लड़के नहीं है क्या?
Board. I welcome you all to this monthly interactive lecture series being conducted by the State Pollution Control Board. I welcome our chairman, Dr. D.K. Supra sir. It is a privilege to see that our chairman, former chairman sir, Professor Ashok Ghosh, has also joined us online. Member Secretary sir and distinguished speaker for today, Professor Shukla Das, and distinguished participants.
नीरज कितने पार्टिसिपेंट्स आ रहे हैं? नीरज
क्या ठीक है? Okay. So with the permission of chair, may I request our member secretary, Sri S. Chandrasekhar ji, to please propose a welcome address on this occasion.
Good afternoon to all. Honorable Chairman, Dr. D.K. Shukla sir, Bihar State Pollution Control Board, our former chairman sir, esteemed Professor Ashok Kumar Ghosh sir, our today's esteemed speaker, Professor Shukla Das, Director, Professor and Head Department of Microbiology, University College of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, and Guru Tegh Bahadur Hospital, Delhi. My colleagues here and the online participants, I welcome all of you for this 19th monthly interactive series on environment and its related topics. Bihar State Pollution Control Board has embarked on a mission to reach out to the public, the academia, the researchers, to take the recent developments in environmental protection and related topics. So this is an attempt to create awareness among the masses. And in this line, we have conducted so far 18 monthly lecture series, 18 lectures so far. This is a monthly lecture series. This is the 19th lecture. And today, our esteemed speaker, Professor Shukla Das, is going to deliver her speech on impact of bioaerosols on indoor air quality, challenges and monitoring strategies. Ma'am, we are looking forward to hear you, and we are glad to have you today with us, amongst us. Welcome, ma'am. And I once again welcome all of you for this lecture series. Over to Dr. Naveen. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. जैसा कि मैं देख रहा हूं कि हमारे पूर्व अध्यक्ष महोदय प्रोफेसर घोष सर इज विथ अस. सर, इट इज अ रियल प्लेजर टू हैव यू हियर सर. और आपके ही मार्गदर्शन में और इंस्पिरेशन से आप ये कार्यक्रम हम लोग का शुरू हुआ था. एंड I feel that you must be feeling satisfied that we are continuing with the same. So it is a privilege to have you here, sir, again. Or I would like to request you to please share us with your opening remarks, as I know that the topic is very dear to you, and as a microbiologist also. So, sir, please.
Thank you, Naveen ji. Good afternoon to all of you. Dr. Shukla, Chandrasekhar ji, Dr. Shukla Das, everybody present here. I miss their place. I worked here for 5 years, and it is always in my heart. All of you are always in my heart, and I always wish good luck to Bihar State Pollution Control Board for continuing good work that was initiated earlier and going beyond that. That, of course, as Naveen ji said, that this topic, bioaerosol, is very close to my heart. when I was in Pollution Control Board, we often talked about PM 2.5. And the way we calculate the weightage of the PM 2.5 towards the AQI. And often Dr. Saha discussed with me that the present scenario for weightage of PM 2.5 is slightly skewed, it is not very proper, because we go on only for the size of the particle, not the quality of the particle. And bioaerosol is another thing that is never considered in calculating the weightage of AQI, weightage of PM 2.5 on AQI. Because, bioaerosol is a thing that is not concerned with the size of the particles. It is the contents. And you all know biological materials, including human pathogens, toxic allergic species, dust, mites, so many things, they come under this category. And when dust is emitted from any area where bio-waste is discarded, the dust particles get mixed with the many contaminants, the biological things, the microbes, the bacteria, and so on and so forth. And if you compare the PM 2.5 coming from a farmer's field in rural area and compare it to PM 2.5 coming from a hospital area, do you think that it will be chemically similar? It can't be. It has to be difference, because a PM 2.5 coming from farmer's field, it is only dust. But in a hospital area where the biomedical waste is not being disposed properly, the particles, the dust particles get impregnated with many harmful organisms that may cause so many diseases, pneumonia, COPD, even cancer, up to cancer. Of course, the PM 2.5 may be also cancerous, but if the PM 2.5 is loaded with bioaerosol, the impact on the health, it becomes multiplied. That Dr. Shukla will be, of course, addressing to it. And we have so many things coming up, not one long thing. I won't take much of time. I've been allocated only 5 minutes, so I can find it. There are many allergens, so many allergens. A series of allergens are there that is going to affect us. And many diseases are there, so many diseases are there that is always threatening. And just to suggest one example, all of you might have heard about Aspergillus. Aspergillus is a very common microbe, very, very common microbe. And often in many of the studies, we have found that PM 2.5 that is impregnated with the spores of Aspergillus. And if that goes into the human body, that causes pneumonia, very, very harmful, toxic pneumonia. Pneumonia of various types. That is one example. And similarly, there is one more bacteria that is very commonly addressed, Cryptococcus. That is also a bacteria that gets impregnated with PM 2.5. So right now, always my focus will be there that Pollution Control Board should take some initiative to reclassify, re-identify, redefine the PM 2.5. Not only based on size, but also on the chemical property, biological impregnation, and collectively we can then say that this is the load of the PM 2.5. Every PM 2.5 can't have similar load. There has to be a difference in the load of PM 2.5. If PM 2.5 is coming from a industrial area, and if you compare it to PM 2.5 coming from the farming land, and if you compare it to the biomedical waste disposal site, they won't be chemically similar. It can't be. A common sense even layman can say that if you give the weightage to all of them identical, that is wrong. So that way, my opinion is there, and I'll be happy to go through the lecture by Dr. Shukla. And of course, my knowledge will be increased after Dr. Shukla's deliberations. Thank you very much for inviting me here. I feel a pleasure always, and it's glad to see all the old faces and Dr. Shukla leading the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We are blessed to have your insight, sir. Now, it's my privilege, rather proud privilege, to introduce you to the speaker of today's lecture. We have with us Dr. Shukla Das. a very eminent scientist. She is presently the head Department of Microbiology and Nodal Officer of Multidisciplinary Research Unit of University of Medical Sciences, University of Delhi. Having 188 peer and reviewed publications to her credit, Dr. Shukla primarily has worked on immunology in autoimmune skin diseases, allergic fungal infections, and related topic. She has been decorated with awards like Saoji Sengupta Memorial Gold Medal Award for Best Paper in Immunology at IIM National Congress in Jaipur 2014, and also Pankaj Lakshmi Venugopal Gold Medal for Best Oral Paper at Microcon Bhubaneswar 2022. She is office bearer of many of the society and organizations, like Joint Secretary of Indoor Air Pollution Committee, Vice President of Indian Society of Medical Mycologists, and life member of Indian Immunology Society, India. Madam, we are very pleased and privileged to have you here. And I would like to request you to please address the gathering. Thank you.
Okay, namaskar everyone. Thank you so much. I am a little down with a bad cold, but it was not anticipating this. So the weather at Delhi is so horrible. So this privilege is, I am extremely honored by the Bihar State Pollution Control Board and sir who has given me the special invite. I'm extremely honored and thank you for the introduction. So I'll straight away now go. I will not be having too many technical evaluations or calculations because there are no standards or criteria laid down for indoor air quality, as especially for a hospital. So other than certain bodies like the NABH, which does the surveys for hospitals. So I'll just go through a few criteria, standards, and what is Bioresol doing to help through my slides. So I'll just share my slides just now. Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, okay. So good afternoon again, everyone. So the impact of Bioresol on this quality changes, monitoring strategies. So these are a few points which I'm going to cover through my slides. Now, microorganisms which include these bioaerosols, these are ubiquitous in nature, in environment, and humans are constantly exposed to a vast array of these microbes. So these are humans are exposed to these vast array of microbes. When microbial contamination exceeds a certain limit, then only it can pose, because they are, as you already mentioned, PM 2.5. These are the vehicles, the carriers for carrying these particles. So these particles are carrying the various bioaerosols. That means the biological particles, whether it is the primary biological particle or their secondary metabolites. Like sir has mentioned, Dr. Ghosh, that there are volatile endotoxins, cell walls, nucleic acid. These are the metabolic byproducts of the organisms. These are also carried, and these can also have an impact. So the sources of microbial contamination can be outdoor, as this picture shows you, can be construction sites, there can be areas where there are poor ventilation, public movement. Hospital itself is a very different complex environment. We must understand that it has a continuous working cycle, and there are various chemical and biological components that are being released, which I will tell you what are those components which are a little different from those which are being emitted outdoors. Outdoors, there is always a diurnal variation which you expect when the bioaerosols are in the air. These can be the bioaerosol depending upon the season. Ventilation affects the bioaerosols when the fungal spores, as sir was mentioning. These are usually expected to be higher in the naturally ventilated indoor areas. However, in winters, we have seen where there are mechanical ventilation or there is ACs rooms. On the contrary, the fungal spores have been found to be 2 times even higher in the rooms which have ACs and has been closed for so long during the winter period. Now, bioaerosols, these are classified into two different classification. One is the primary particulate matter, the primary biological, and the secondary oxidized semi-volatile organisms. So bioaerosols these are usually liquid or solid material which are then exposed into the gaseous part, passively suspended in the gaseous medium. Now, they may also contain the other organic material, like on this left-hand side, you see the carbon monoxide, hydrogen, nitrogen. Those PM 2.5 are carrying all these gaseous as well as the bioaerosol particles. So, the primary biological aerosols, they constitute about 5 to 50% of the total atmospheric particles. And the aerosolized particles are classified into different categories depending upon their aerodynamic distance, where site of deposition, and their size particle, and where are they deposited. Now, this is the slide which is telling you globally the air pollution has proven to be a major health problem, risk causing premature birth and fourth cause of premature mortality. As per this global burden disease study in 2022, indoor air quality has often got neglected, and its quality will always be compromised because there are 2.6 billion people who are still using these heating sources like burning of gases and agriculture, crop. So 2022, this study assumed, or this study declared, that air pollution is the second highest risk for health in India as far as respiratory infections are concerned. Now, in the indoor air quality in a hospital is always a very big challenge, because monitoring is not there. There are no standards, and the hospital acquired infections, there are a variety, like sir had mentioned some of them, like aspergillus, E. coli, pseudomonas. These are in the air, and there is very easy transmission, leading to a lot of outbreak situations in the hospital. So bacteria, virus, molds, aspergillus, we have seen this during our COVID also, how the hospital had suffered despite giving beds to the patient. There was so much mortality and transmission within the hospital. So airborne transmission is because of these bioaerosols and these biological contaminants. So airborne transmission can lead to a disaster in the hospital settings. The sources of these sources of particles, these I've already said, that these can be organic, carbon, sulfate, nitrate, soils, carbon monoxide, PM 2.5. These are the air quality index, these are the indices which are positive and total volatile organic compounds. These do constitute, and they are carried by the dust particles. Dust particles are the carriers. So similarly, the dust particles will carry the biological materials also. Now, indoor air, when we look at the indoor air, this picture just tells you where are the sources where the outdoor air can mingle with the indoor air. So whether it is carbon monoxide from the plants or outside soil, bathroom, etc., this is for a housing area. Whereas this example is a PGI which was taken from the internet. A hospital is situated, and look at the surroundings. The surrounding has got vehicles, there are residential buildings, there are wood burning areas, gas powered equipments, and industry facilities are also around the hospital. So these can also create an environment which can disturb the indoor quality of a hospital. Now, transmission in the next picture, if you see, the transmission here can be between the healthcare workers, between the patients, between the traffic, the attendant, the lab attendants, they all become carriers of these particulate matter and can spread this infection from one person to another. There are healthy people who are waiting in the lounge, but then these people can also carry the infection if certain internal air quality standards are not maintained. Now, bioaerosol can cause a lot of diseases. Now, this major pollutant, this I will not read out because this is already listed very well. And primary and secondary pollutants, these components are also present in the indoor environment. Sources of bioaerosols can be air conditioning in the ceiling, carpet, and the ventilation system. So this is the heating, ventilation, AC systems, which is one of the major sites where bioaerosols can exist. And then all these other material which has been I have listed, these are also a very common sites for bioaerosol thriving. That means the pathogens are thriving here. Now look at the next point, indoor sources in the hospital complex. Nebulizers, the patients who are in the ICU, there is aerosol generation when the patients are nebulized. So aerosol generation means there'll be small particulates like PM 2.5 to 5 to 10 micron meter, which will be suspended in the air. And these can carry a lot of bacteria, viruses, and fungus. Sputum induction, bronchoscopy, humidifiers, there are so many systems which are being used in the hospitals can generate aerosols. Aerosol generation means that there is bioaerosol formation, and these can be potential hazardous for the patient and for the healthcare workers. These are the breeding sites for bacteria, fungus. The size of the bacteria, as said, 1 to 10 micrometers is the size, whereas viruses are in nanometers. Now, it is this WHO has, by certain standards, has said that a microbial load which is acceptable in a hospital should be at least 1,000 colony, less than 1,000 colony forming unit per cubic meter, and PM 2.5 to be not more than 10 gram per cubic meter. And if it is more than that, then that area is considered. This is a rough estimate which was in literature cited, where they said that the environment will be at a high risk and the patients can get infection if these parameters are not fulfilled. So the IAQ in a hospital, as I said, the building design, the OTs, ICU, these are certain high risk areas where the standards have to be initiated. Now, we cannot forget the heavy metals, the lead, asbestos, cadmium, aluminium. These are also being generated and they are carried by PM 2.5 and can be a source of cancer, can be a source of inhibitory phagocytic activities in these patients. Now, in the hospitals, the tubings, you know, the IV sets that is being used for putting the IV fluids, then the catheters, the sterilizers, ethidium, ETO, glutaraldehyde, formaldehyde, these all release certain phthalates and other components which can be again very infectious, and these can be carried by the dust particles along with the pathogens, and this can lead to sick building syndrome or the building respiratory syndromes. These can be responsible for disturbances in the conditions of these patients. Now, air quality index, this is has been taken where it shows that air quality index depends upon these 5 particles, the carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, and the ozone. And this is calculated for 5 air pollutants. However, in a hospital, this has not been identified. In WHO guideline, it is defined the lowest concentration at which adverse effects are observed. On basis of this, as I said, on basis of this air quality index, the microbial load, again, I have written this, that should be less than 1,000 colony forming, and 2.5 should not be more than 10 microgram. And even the volatile organic substance, that should be less than 500 microgram per, I think, cubic meter. So these are a very rough calculations and rough estimates that have been made out by WHO. However, these are not being followed very religiously in many hospitals. Now, bioaerosols, this can carry a large number of particles. As I said, it depends upon the size, aerodynamics, and the site at which it is falling, the site of deposition. So in a hospital, if there is an aerosol generating activity going on, then the density of the bioaerosol will be very high in an ICU or in a ward. And these survival of these biological air components, these will depend upon the relative humidity, the temperature, the ozone, and presence of other gases. Pollutants like sulfur dioxide and nitrogen have very little effect on bioaerosol. Outdoor survival is poorer than the indoor due to the presence of ozone in the outdoor environment. A relative humidity of 20 to 40% and an optimum temperature of 25 to 28 allows the bioaerosols to survive for a very long time, and they can travel long distances. So diseases like Legionella, chickenpox, tuberculosis, measles, these are very dangerous bacterial infection, viral infection, which have traveled long distances by biological particles or PM 2.5. Now, this also we must remember that more than 10 microgram are restricted only to the nasal area. 5 to 10 get deposited in the upper respiratory. Less than 5 reach the alveoli, which are respirable. Within 5 minutes, there are 3,000 droplet nuclei which are released, and sneezing can generate around 40,000 droplets. So imagine if there are patients who are in an infected ward and they are carrying a particle size of 0.5 to 12 micron. So both inspirable and respirable particulates can carry so much burden of bacteria. And these are a few names which can cause disaster and high mortality. So droplet nuclei, we define them as the size of less than 5 micrometer, which remain suspended and bind to the dust particle. So because of this, tuberculosis, measles, and chickenpox have been found to travel long distances and can cause infection. So depending upon the size of the particle, its persistence and density in the air, and the time it takes to drop on the ground. So the density of bacteria on the ground definitely will be higher. However, if your traffic or your patients are concentrated on an area where there is a constant generation of aerosol, then they will all get exposed, and there is poor HVAC system, that means a filtration system is poor, then they will lead to massive outbreak. Large aerosols will fall on the ground, so they are usually do not cause much infection because they fall on the ground very easily. Whereas the lighter particles like the viruses and the fungi, they remain in the air and the humidity maintains their viability. These are a list of organisms and the diseases that are caused. So these are a huge long list which I'm not reading, but all are carried out and they remain viable, and they are all airborne transmissible. So bioaerosol, whether it is inhaled or it is ingested, both are the routes of transmission of these deadly organisms. Now, bioaerosol concentration in a livestock, in an animal environment, is far more than if you find in an outdoor environment, because their respiration, then their excreta, their hide, their skin, there is a lot of high concentration in bioaerosols in their bedding, and they are important cause of not only animal diseases, but they can cause diseases in the humans as well. This is what sir was talking about, aspergillus, which I agree that aspergillus, if you look at the picture, it looks very nice, but see the millions of spores that get disseminated. So these spores are about 5 micron in size, and each spore, if about 10 to the power 4 to 6 spores which remain suspended in the air, if these are inhaled by an immunocompromised patient, hospital environment, usually patients are immunocompromised. So this have the potential to cause infection, not only upper respiratory tract, but deadly fatal pneumonia. So a comparison of airborne fungal as isolated, as I said, during season, there can be a difference. In autumn, you will find the fungal spores are more compared to the bacterial. Now, WHO has recently, fungus was always considered to be neglected. I was happy that Dr. Ghosh announced aspergillus as one of the causes. Yes, WHO in 2022 took out a priority list. These are the death-causing diseases, a fungal list which has been provided by WHO, stating that these infections must be diagnosed in a hospital and should be treated as early as possible. And most of them are bioaerosol generated. They can be carried to long distances. Then the other organism, these are bioterrorism agents also. So bioaerosols, as we have known, that anthrax has been used during the biowarfare. So this also is a major component which one must keep. Why quality of air should be kept within standards and within standards and quality criteria should be maintained. The effect of air pollution not only on health, it also affects the social and the economic aspects. The infectious and non-infectious bioaerosols, there are two types, as I said. The primary ones are the ones which are pathogenic and viable, and the infectious, but they are not viable. That means it is their biological byproduct, whether it is the nucleic acid, the cell wall, or the lipid, or their metabolic product. So those are the organic compounds which are really, those can also act as antigen and toxin and cause a large number of infection. So this table is just telling you that most of the, if you see the last column, the lung cancers, respiratory infection, mostly it is the respiratory infection which are caused by not only nitrogen, sulfur dioxide, this all you know, but also by bioaerosols. Now, IAQ in hospitals. The IAQ in hospitals, this has been taken from a paper from Frontiers in Public Health, and they have designed that in a building design, it should, these are various parameters. So I just found one or two particles only where they have put across certain parameters, that what should be the height, what should be the material that should be used, what should be the furnishing, building material. So in a hospital, the high risk areas that we need to identify are the ICUs, then the OTs, and then a few wards which are very high risk, who are keeping the high risk patients like the transplant patients, or the organ transplant patients, and ones who are receiving chemotherapy, or the cancer patient. So we begin with hospital quality, indoor quality. If we have to start, we cannot do that for a entire hospital, especially in a government hospital. But certain standards must be initiated, especially in the areas where there are high risks like OTs and ICUs. The most important area which we must address is the ventilation, primary filtration and AC ventilation system. So wherever there is a heating, air conditioning, ventilation system, filtration system should be appropriately monitored. They should monitor the pre-filters and post-filter. Before and after OTs, it should be monitored what is the content of PM 2.5 and 10, as well as the bioaerosol content. Now, this again in that same another paper, they have listed that, imagine we were thinking that these chemicals are not released in the hospital. Look at the list of chemicals that are released. Every hospital uses alcohol, disinfectant, glutaraldehyde, formaldehyde as disinfectant, and sterilization. These are all releasing very toxic volatile compounds, and these can be very irritant to the patients who are already housed in the hospital. And other than those, you have the fungus, the bacteria, and the viruses already existing. and the PM 2.5 and 10. So all air quality index has to be monitored in the hospital. What standards, what criteria to be followed is yet to be formulated. Again, these are the sources of airborne microbial. As I said, Legionella is one deadly bacteria which comes from the air conditioning cooling towers. So a lot of times you will find that patient has entered into the ICU just for a recovery, but within 5 days is down with respiratory distress, and probably people ignore it may have occurred because of the poor air conditioning ducting system, where Legionella bacteria led to the infection in these patients. TB bacteria, TB, tuberculosis, Mycobacterium tuberculosis can also occur, Staphylococcus and Aspergillus. So these are a few bacteria and fungi which are present in the ventilation and the air ducting systems, which should be monitored, and most of these hospitals ignore until and unless we keep any standards. The AC ducting systems are not looked into very carefully. Then these are a few papers which just tell us what exchange rate should be there if you are maintaining within an OT, like in ICU, OT, patient room. This paper tells you that at least minimum of 2 fresh exchanges, at least 20 air exchanges, of which 2 should be fresh air exchanges. So this is some of the papers who are working on these standards, where these have been calculated and are being followed. Then again, the presence of glutaraldehyde and nitrous oxide, what is the limit that should be present in a hospital, is also being documented here. Now, there is no single bioaerosol sampling technique which can be considered to be the best and can tell you that this is the way, this will give you the true story of your the area that you are investigating. So identification of sources can lead to control and mitigation strategies. Not one sample is good. However, we can use multiple devices to recover these bioaerosols. So there are various methods by which samplers, the selection of sample can be done. And these can be various methods. Either you want to do by cultivating or by non-cultivating methods. And these are a spectrum. I'm not going into this detail, but then their procedures are all available, wherein if you want to calculate what is the burden of bioaerosol in an indoor environment. Passive sampling is what we use. This is because it is easy to monitor, and we look at the bioaerosols which are falling on a culture plate. This is used in the hospital mainly for OT, for a quick review. It is easy and cheap, but it is not suitable for very fastidious organisms, the ones which cannot grow on simple media. These are these cascade impactors which have been used, and the media on which the volume of air which is impacted and the colony counts are done. And this is what we do in our hospital, the colony forming unit versus the index of microbial air contamination. So this is as per an old literature which says that acceptable levels should be of IMA values of 0 to 5 to 0 to 9, which is very good. And at the bottom, you can see that 5 IMA count is on acceptable in very high-end surgical units like orthos, neuro OTs. If it is more than that, then the OT is closed, and then cleaning is done for, again, a review of the colony forming units, or the settle plate method is done before the OT is made to be satisfactory for the surgery to be done. And so this is the parameter that is followed, and the standard scheme that we do is 1-1-1, that is 1 hour open plate kept at a floor distance of 1 meter high on the OT table and 1 meter away from the wall, just before the OT is starting. So this will give you the contamination level, and then we give them whether it is satisfactory or unsatisfactory. The misconception is sample only near the affected area. Suppose we just want to do near the door. and don't do it at the center. That is not correct. Pooling of sample is also not right. And multiple time points and longer duration is important. We have to understand the dynamics. As I said, the aerodynamics of the aerosol. How long does it take? Because in an OT, if it is a 5-hour OT or a 6-hour surgery, we are keeping the body open. So how long will the aerosol take time for it to settle on the body surface? So that will tell us from the settle plate method that we are following. So prevention and this thing, so control strategies will be maintained. So most important in the hospital is air handling systems, the fans, drains, periodic replacement of the filters. Humidifiers, if we are using, because a lot of ICU patients, we use humidifiers because they are suffering from bronchospasm, from bronchitis, and from asthma and allergy. So when they have to be nebulized, the nebulization water, the humidifiers have to be changed regularly. Heating system and the HVAC system have to be changed and monitored very regularly. Disinfectant biocides should be used in humidified water. This many hospitals have been started using it so that they kill the bacteria which is present in the water. The available air filters that are used for filtration, primary filtration systems, these can be HEPA filters, ULPA filters. So 99%, these will remove the 0.5 micron, 2.5 micron and 10 micron. And these have to be monitored regularly with a maintenance unit to check whether there is any contamination in these areas. These are certain mitigation strategies. So when you have an OT, the filter, HEPA filter should be just above the OT table. So that there is a laminar sheet flow and it flows exhaust outside away from the body surface. So the laminar flow will give you a clean flow of air where there will be no contamination and it will be monitored by the filtration. So this is the this is a unidirectional airflow in operation theaters, whereas UV installation and configuration in other rooms where you have ICU patients, or there are patients who are very high risk patients, then you may have a UV GI installation configuration so that the air circulated within that room is disinfected, or all the bioaerosols are killed, and then the air is exhausted out. So these are a few figures where it tells us that hospital mechanical ventilation, filtration system, you have the pressure control system and the unidirectional flow of air current. That means from the clean zone to a contamination zone. These are a few points. Isolation corridors, prevent air leakages, air pressure should be from clean to lesser clean areas, reduce the interference due to door opening or by closing the door repeatedly. Air pressure can be monitored by supply of air to a level that is exceeding the exhaust. So these are differential pressure control strategies. There are directional airflow strategies where airflow can be done only from clean to contaminated areas. OT can be maintained to avoid undesirable air turbulences, and any turbulence can cause the pathogens to get mixed. So these are a few points which we need to understand and remember. Reduce the growth by controlling moisture also and ambient temperature. Clean and keep the areas dry. Not only wet mopping, we use a lot of wet mops, but then after wet mopping, it should be absolutely kept dry, because the moment, even when you are doing hand washing, in corona days, you have been told to keep on rubbing your hand with disinfectant and hand wash repeatedly. But if you keep your hand wet, your microbes will still remain in your hands. So best is to wipe them dry after cleaning your hands. So same way, OT floors and walls should be cleaned, wet mopping and dry mopping, to prevent condensation and allowing the fungus to remain. Airborne precautions, so these are again a repetition. Ventilation control, personal control, these are various diseases. Droplet precautions, this is very well told. WHO recommend the following procedures: contaminants, prevention of escape of toxic substances into the ambient air by using various enclosures, ventilation and disinfection. So you have to be careful that your air exchanges, it does not exhaust out. Even when you have a TB center or a exhume or a hood which you are using with the toxic material, it should be very well filtered so that these toxic substances don't mix out with the outdoor air as well. Now, this is my last slide, which is telling you that NABH standards has been laid when this team goes to check the OTs. There are type A and type 2 OTs. Type A is a super specialty OT, where I said that the count of settle plate should be less than 5. And type B are the general OTs. So here air exchange of minimum 20 should be there. And fresh component should be minimum of 2 to 4 fresh air component air exchanges should be maintained. Velocity of 25 Pascal. Laminar flow, as I showed you in the picture. Positive pressure. Air quality should be HEPA maintained. And the efficiency of the HEPA filter should be checked regularly, and temperature and humidity to be maintained. This was just a small study that we did from the indoor air sampling. These are certain locations where our patients were coming with allergic rhinitis and bronchial asthma. And at their houses, we kept these open settle plates for 1 hour, as we did in the OTs. And can you see that the variety of bacteria, this is blood agar plate, and the fungus that grew in their indoor air environment. And this was a study when I did immunological study, there was derangement we did with these particulate matters, and with Aspergillus was one of the major organism which was thriving in their air in the houses. So they found that there was immunological dysregulation in these patients, leading to their chronic and recurrences in their sinusitis, Aspergillus related sinusitis. This is their histopathology picture. And the conclusion was Aspergillus leading to persistence in nasal mucosa can trigger this interleukin 17 and result in chronic polyp formation. So in their houses itself, the spores content is so high that, as we have seen in COVID-19, mucormycosis was one of the death-causing phenomena post-COVID. So this again is, other than COVID period, fungal spores are ignored, which are thriving in your ceiling, in the environment, and patients ignore this indoor quality of their air, and they land up with the recurrences of these clinical conditions. So health assessment, monitoring and assessment, this was taken from a paper where hazard identification, exposure assessment, dose response assessment, and risk characterization. These should be our mandate if we are starting to create certain standards or some criteria, if we have to lay down. And finally, the key messages is IAQ standards and guidelines in India have to be strongly implemented. We know there are ASHRAE and other Indian ASHRAE bodies which are working on the systems and regulatory body for surveillance. So IAQ in the hospital is actually missing. To monitor the health associated risk factors and air quality, and in G20 it has been already declared that climate change and health is now the major factor which the government is now focusing upon. So we really need to work towards finding better mitigation strategies, especially in the hospitals and in areas where the indoor air quality can be improved. I would like to end by saying that we are holding a conference, a CMEA one-day conclave, national conclave on 2nd of March of 2024, and inviting everyone to join this This is not online, it is offline at IIT Delhi. So thank you so much for this patience hearing.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Professor Das, for your detailed and so much informative lecture in a very lucid language. So we are really very thankful to you. Now I would like to invite all the participants who have joined us offline as well as online. If they have any queries or questions, anything to ask, you are most welcome.
Dr. Raj first. Dr. Raj.
Dr. Raj. Yes, Dr. Raj.
Yes, sir. Namaste सभी को. Good afternoon, ma'am. Myself, Dr. Rajkishore Sharma. I am working as senior resident in Department of Microbiology, Patna Medical College. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Please go on.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, basically, I want to know, ma'am, when we are testing for presence of different microorganisms, is it only the open sampling method which we are following, and at that same time, each and every colony has to be tested for identification of
No, as I showed you in the picture, what we are following is mainly in the OT wards, because there are no standards laid down. So ward is now a futile exercise. So wards, you have to just maintain the cleanliness, the mopping, and keeping the infection controlled strategies in place. Whereas in OTs, you have to do it near the OT table. Now near the door and taking swabs from the walls or from the ceiling is no longer advised. The HEPA filters which you have in your filtration system or in the HVAC system, that has to be under the AMC. The HEPA filter is checked for its efficiency, whether it is cleaned or not, that has to be monitored. Otherwise, taking swabs from everywhere will be a futile exercise. You will keep on growing a lot of samples. And the second thing that you said, method, if you have an Anderson impactor, that will be very nice, because then you will capture the cubic meter volume of air. You can do that. Because we do not have an Anderson impactor, so we do the settle plate method for the OTs, and we report it to our IDSP section. The OTs are regularly done.
And ma'am, for monitoring of fungal spores, still we...
Yes, so in the OT table itself, on the settle plate itself, you will get, if there are no settlement of fungal spores. See, if you do Anderson impactor, then maybe you will be able to capture the fungal spores. And if you do a settle plate and you get, and if the spore burden in the environment is very high, definitely will come on the plate also. Blood agar and SDA, that is the two plates that we are using. So they are very good media for fungus to grow. So if there is there.
Yes, ma'am. So each and every colony you are then subculturing,
yes,
or you are
colony,
just going through the...
No, we have I'll tell you, we have a colony counter. So this is a colony counter. These instruments are available in the market. The plate is kept under the colony counter. We count the colonies. It is not done manually. So this is digitally the counts are maintained, and then each sample, yes, from each bacteria we take a sweep smear, and a sweep smear is made, and we identify by gram staining and by LPCB. That is all. We don't identify until and unless you are doing a study, you want to do the drug susceptibility out of these pathogens, which is of no use. You just make a smear, find out whether it is Staphylococcus. Basic test that you need to do, you can do that. You can even do MRSA finding by coagulase testing, up to you. If there is a high burden of MRSA, you have to inform the OTs that there is a high burden of MRSA. That means there is too many people trafficking around that place. So then this has to be detected. You can put those few colonies either in the Vitek or by conventional method. So we do identify the organisms, and then we make the report. We just don't write gram positive, gram negative, and cocci, bacilli. We identify the organism and then write the report.
So it is.
I have one question.
So it is only, ma'am,
Okay,
settling
go ahead.
down methods which.
Any method you can use. That's what I'm saying. You can use an impactor or you can use this. Any impactor will be best because it will have gradients of pore size and you will see which bioaerosol is maximum in your center.
Ji.
I have a
Okay.
question. Can I raise the question?
Yes, sir. You are welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Das, for wonderful lecture and so much of informations. I have two questions. I work in a cancer hospital in Patna. We're catering to about 26,000 cancer patients per year. That is second largest hospital. The question that is before you is there. We are studying the liver cancer and lung cancer patients mostly. And you are finding a very high level of mycotoxins in the tissue. There are more than 200 known mycotoxins, and they are also present in the bioaerosol part of that. So my question is there that besides inhibiting RNA and protein synthesis, is there other mechanism which triggers cancer through mycotoxins?
Your question is whether mycotoxins can trigger cancers.
It triggers cancer.
Yes,
That is
see,
confirmed. And one
yeah,
mechanism is there.
it triggers.
Yeah, it triggers. And one
Yes,
mechanism
sir.
is there. It inhibits the RNA and protein synthesis and somehow starts giving wrong signals to the genes involved. My question was there that is there any other mechanism through which cancer can be triggered by mycotoxins?
Sir, I would not be able to give you an exact answer to that, but of course, Aspergillus fungus directly and their components both have been associated to dysregulate their metabolism of the cells. So, the changes in the liver cells, in the Kupffer cells, whether it is the direct Aspergillus itself, the spores, or it is its byproduct, any of it, what we have done, I'll tell you an example, the PBMCs, when we took these patients of as AFRS, allergic fungal rhinosinusitis, and we triggered their PBMCs with Aspergillus toxins. We found that there was a very high inflammatory response. The TH17 was very high. So
Okay.
it is either ways, whether it is the germinating spore or it is the toxin direct. Both of them are responsible for, stimulating a inflammatory response and a dysregulation in the immune response.
Okay, thank you. And one suggestion to Dr. Shukla. I think that by the lecture by Dr. Das, you all agree now that every dust is not only dust. It's different between the dusts. We cannot say that all the dusts are identical, generic. Dust has to be identified as from where it is coming, whether it is from factory or from a farming land or from a hospital waste. So my humble request to Dr. Shukla will be there that to take up this issue with policymakers, CPCB, and give some weightage to quality also. I could not do it in my tenure, but I expect that you will take it forward. And somewhere, because, AQI measurement, it was devised by European countries, Western countries. That is very sterile and, very clean atmosphere. India is different. And if you apply the same yardstick for calculating AQI that is being done in Europe, like Oslo or any Stockholm cities like that, and you put that model in Bihar. So that is, I think, that is scientific and logical. So my request will be to you that take it forward, and wherever any need will be there for scientific input, I'll be there with you.
In fact, I fully agree with you. When you say that only PM 2.5 or PM 10 and research will not do anything because we are in Indo-Gangetic plain and dust is already there.
Yeah.
And the second point is about the quality of dust, which we have earlier referred. That quality is very important and we are not considering it in our. Second point is about the indoor air quality. In fact, we don't have any standard of indoor quality, and we need to have standard of air quality for indoors also.
Yes.
Because the hospital problem we have, Professor Shukla has narrated, and the problem is about the offices also. Because today only we have checked the carbon dioxide concentration in our room.
One of
Okay.
Room. It was 1,900.
Okay.
The carbon dioxide concentration. So there may be so many bioaerosol and so many bacteria and so many things. We don't check it. If
Yeah.
we know the standards and we have methodology to check it, at least we can be sure about that we are breathing in inside our houses also. We are breathing good quality of air. Hospital, very grave because the contamination is high. But we are not, our houses are all also facing the same problem. We are not safe in the houses also. If we are not able to quantify the pollutants or the bioaerosol in our houses.
Agreed. Thank you.
Sir, I would like to say this because many of us, are suffering from diabetes. We are on steroids, and these are all comorbid conditions where if the air contamination is carrying heavy particulate matter with spores, so this will, right, even if you are controlling your diabetes, etc., these spores will be, giving you a lot of infections and lot of trouble, especially in these patients who are having these comorbidities like diabetes. So diabetic and patient on steroid really suffered during the post-COVID period when there was large number of those mucormycosis patients and aspergillus patient where we got about 800 admissions in the hospital. So this needs to be highlighted and indoor air quality has to be maintained. Right, we start from offices, hospital, and then reach out to houses.
We can collaborate if you have some plan or something called
Correct, sir.
indoor air quality index. Type of
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely, sir. Thank you.
So there is a tendency that people, many of us, they are keeping many plants inside indoor house, inside our indoor areas. So many a times we don't go for the species which is correct, and it creates more problem than addressing the problem.
Yes. Yes.
That is also
Actually,
Ma'am, one more question. Actually, these days, a lot of air purifiers from different brands have made its way into our working space. Ma'am, how good these air purifiers are, especially when we speak about bioaerosols? Are they good in filtering these bioaerosols?
The
Also-
air purifiers.
Yes, air purifiers, ma'am.
Yes, air purifiers, at least they will reduce the burden. The microbial load, the exchanges of air will be there. But whether they are up to the standard, one doesn't know. There are so many in the market. And in indoor, at least something is better than at least nothing. So you have humidifiers, you have air purifiers now being placed in a lot of hospitals, even in our offices. In our hospitals also we have air purifiers. But yes, this definitely makes, but one has not monitored it.
Yes.
Pehle aur baad mein, no one has done the count whether it has made any improvement or not.
Thank you.
So if तबीयत ठीक नहीं है मैडम का, तो
Madam Professor Das, बहुत wonderful lecture. In fact, yesterday itself I spoke to Dr. Nilima Gupta just now you referred. And I asked, since 2011, I am asking for the one single parameter that can tell whether in a suffocated room or not. So in 2011 itself, I told at least let's install CO2 monitor at the public gathering places, indoor and public gathering, offices, restaurants, hotels, cinema theaters, etc. Even as on date, we could not do it. And it was suggested in 1864 that CO2 monitor is must for the public gathering places, indoor public gathering places. But what is the hindrance that we are not able to come out with a single solution to understand whether the room is suffocated or not? And I hope this issue will be taken up on 2nd March, being organized at the seminar being organized at IIT Delhi. This is one. Just to correlate with Professor Ghosh, one question, whether we can or really not able to understand that levoglucosin measurement will tell you the functions of a liver. Is it not related with the levoglucosin measurement?
Can you
So I
repeat
didn't
it?
understand. So
Yeah,
can you repeat,
could not
sir?
understand the question.
The question is liver function test whenever we are doing.
LFT, yeah.
Yes, LFT we are doing. So if you see the profile of the blood, that time we are not considering monetary measurement of levoglucosin in the blood. And that is one of the indicators that tells the liver functions whether it is working well or not. So is it not wise to take the address, those who are doing the blood samples, to tell this must be a parameter for telling the thing?
Yeah, Dr. Das will speak.
Yeah, no, actually, liver, lung function test, we have spirometric tests, lung function, FE1 and forced volume expiratory rates are measured. We have this spirometry where we see the lung function test are deranged in these patients, and then we try to correlate whether they have been exposed to any fungus or whether in their sputum, when they express out the sputum, there is any fungus ball, and then correlate with their lung CT scan and the X-ray. So that tells us that there is a air contamination and has been exposed. Liver function test can be multiple causes of LFT derangement. So if an LFT is rising, SGOT, SGPT, that itself only will not tell that there is an exposure to some toxins. We have to do by mass spectrometry and GM, HPLC, or by mass specs. There are a lot of arrays which are available where we can do these blood levels of these compounds and then correlate with the liver function test. So all nowadays, whatever that list of volatile organic compounds I have narrated, all those can be measured by very good assays, by mass specs and LCMCs. So I think that then only we'll be able to have a solid proof that this is correlating, because there are multiple factors. Like Dr. Ghosh sir, you just mentioned about the cancer. So
Yeah.
the cancer is not one cause. There are multiple factors.
Yes.
And one of those can be those toxins which is upregulating a gene which
Yeah.
is promoting cancer.
Yes, agreed.
So definitely we have to look into all the factors and cannot ignore the air quality. Of course,
Yeah.
those that which is in our control. Host factors you cannot control, but environmental factors are in our hand. We can control them.
True,
So
very
those
true.
factors we have to bring down and have some standards so that the quality of life can improve.
Yeah, yes, madam. Actually, there's no doubt now. There are enough scientific proof to correlate
Yes.
air pollution with cancer.
Yes.
There are so many pathways, there are so many genes that can be
Yes,
impacted by
yes.
air pollution.
Yes.
Well,
yes,
you
yes.
have to see that how to control. It is not only COPD, it is not only
Yes.
pneumonia. It may
No.
be even cancer. And that is
Yes.
avoidable. That is avoidable by
Yes.
controlling air pollution. So that is the area where we have to work vigorously, and we have to see that whatever criteria has been made, nothing for indoor pollution, even for outdoor, whatever has been done for standardization, it is cut and paste. We take the Western model and paste in India.
Yes.
So that is the
Yes.
main fault. We cannot do the cut and post. Geographically, the air of Patna or Bihar will be totally different to Stockholm. It can't be, you can say that whatever the air quality is there in Stockholm, that is same in Patna. So we have
Sir,
to
the
develop. Yeah, we
Sir,
have to
the
develop.
quality,
Yeah.
I am just saying quality of air is one thing, but our air is carrying so many viruses,
Yes, I agree.
bacteria.
That's
That
right.
is
That
the
is the
thing.
point.
Their air quality is different. There is
Yes,
different,
yes,
but ours is
totally.
full of.
That is why I'm saying that we should develop our own evaluation method,
Yes.
our own standards, our own
Yes.
parameters on which the AQI should be determined. We should not simply cut and paste from the Western model.
Not at
We
all.
are sufficient. There are no dearth of scientists working in India now. We have equipments, we have the mindset also. So some group of people has to join and lobby
We
for
have
it.
to have,
Yeah,
yes.
it has to be lobbied that, well, you devise some Indian standards for India, not the
Yes,
UK
sir, we
standard
need
for
a
India.
bigger project. Yes, sir, we
Yeah,
need
yeah.
big projects to
Yeah,
work on this.
yeah. So Dr.
And,
Sukla has already offered
thank
you
you.
that something can be done through Pollution Control Board. You start something and it will be a good thing to do.
So we'll collaborate, definitely, sir.
Yeah. Done.
Hospitals.
So if we have no further queries, I would like to propose a big hand for Dr. Das.
And thank you, sir. I just
Despite
made a small
of
talk.
having
It is, sir, please, it's all right. It's a small
no,
talk.
no.
It's nothing great.
Despite not being in good health, you have presented in such a detailed and informative talk. We are really very delighted. And now I would request very humbly to our respected chairman, sir, to show us the way forward and announce the next topic.
Thank you, Professor Das and Professor Ghosh for this enlightening discussion, because some of the areas which we need to develop and expertise also, which we lack at the moment now. And these are very important things. And we hope that in future we will be able to develop it. And from the Pollution Control Board to all the participants and the scientists who are dealing with this, who are listening this lecture, they can, if they have some project in their mind about the indoor air quality or inclusion of bioaerosol in air quality index. We welcome it and they can submit their projects to us. The next lecture in this series, the 20th lecture, in fact, it will be on characteristics of atmospheric boundary layer and its relation with the PM 2.5 during winter by Nishant Kumar, Assistant Professor, Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, Enroll Lakshmaya Education Foundation, Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. So the next lecture is again going to be in this series only of PM 2.5. That is very nice to note. And now I would like to request our member secretary, sir, Sri Chandrasekhar ji, to propose a vote of thanks.
You know, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your wonderful and informative lecture. So far, I have been thinking that dust is inert, but it has become clear that dust is a living being now. So we should be very careful when we put up ourselves inside an indoor area. So, and rightly mentioned by Dr. Saha that in public gathering places, I think we should monitor the CO2 level, whether the hall or the room is suffocating or not. So this will give a better public health. Environment is closely related to public health. So definitely, ma'am, government and other research organizations should come forward to come out with our own standard as suggested by our former chairman, sir, Professor Ghosh, sir, that we should have our own standards for indoor air quality. As of now, we don't have such air quality standards for indoor space. Definitely, we should come out with that. And I also thank our chairman, sir, for chairing this session and for willingly accepting any research proposal related to indoor air quality and its associated topics. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very enlightening lecture from you, and we are looking forward to have continuous collaboration with you in future as well. Also, I take this opportunity to thank all those participants who are present physically here and who have joined virtually also. So I thank one and all. Thank you so much, and I look forward to meet you all once again in next month's lecture. Also, take this opportunity for our today's special guest, Professor Ghosh sir, who fondly remembers and who carries this board in his heart always. And sir, your blessings are always there with us. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your wonderful opening remarks, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Looking forward to have you a wonderful interaction in the days to come also. Thank you, sir. And for the information of all, it is informed that this lecture, the monthly lectures are hosted in our BSPCB channel in the YouTube. One can go through this lecture at any time from through our BSPCB channel through YouTube. Thank you, one and all. Thank you so much. Good day.
Thanks. Thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. And with the permission of chair, I close this session. Thank you.
Thank you.